about this love, about this, about this love, about this love. Love. How you guys doing today? You are tuning into About This Love podcast with myself, Dale, and my wife, Charel. Say what's up.
What's up?
Thank you guys for tuning into us. Definitely been deeply encouraged by seeing that people listen to our podcast in Alaska, South Africa, Canada, and the US of A. Definitely been encouraged by that. As always, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, which are the only two platforms you can follow us on, and you can ingest our podcast everywhere where podcasts can be ingested, including Facebook and YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into it. Yay!
Oh, okay, because I thought this just became an Ice Cube concert.
We be clubbing. Stop.
You know what?
That's my jam though. That's my jam though.
I'm wholly Christianified. I don't know about no clubs and all of that.
Man, the last podcast you were talking about when you got saved. Now you be wholly sanctified.
I said what I said. Period.
Sorry about that, guys.
But no, so today I wanted to speak to the young people because I felt like the Lord put on my heart maybe about a week ago this to share. And I want to be more bold and more faithful with sharing what the Lord has put on my heart to share with you all. And if this permeates your heart, I'm glad that it does because it's not me speaking. It's what the Lord wanted you to know. I was sitting there thinking, so actually, it's quite funny. We were driving, Dylan, you and I were driving somewhere. I think we were going to the store, and I had seen this young girl like walking on the street. And so, you guys don't know that Dale does this, but something he's done since we started hanging around each other. He'll be like, oh, hey, is that person your father? Or is that your uncle? And I go to look and I'm just like, first of all, why would that person be out wherever we were? Why would they be out here? And secondly, that person don't look nothing like, they don't even have the likeness of.
I be joking though.
He'd be serious.
I mean, they do look similar to him. I mean, they
don't
do have
no type of likeness
similarities
at all, other than they be male or female. They have no likeness. But anyways, so I had a moment, you've been married to your spouse long enough, you start to act like them. So I had this moment where I'm just like, oh, is that somebody in my family? And then I was like, oh no, it's not her. And then it came to my mind. It was a much older lady. And so it came to my mind, the Lord had brought to me how the person who I thought it was, they are not out on the streets. They're not ripping and running. They are in such a beautiful place right now. They're in such a prime place right now in their lives. They're young, they're still in school, but they have their whole life ahead of them, especially with, everything going on. They still have their life ahead of them. And I basically began to share with this person how, because you're young, you have no responsibilities, meaning like other than school, you don't have to take care of no one, you don't have any children, and you basically have like, open range to kind of do whatever. Yeah. And because you have that open range, it's best that you write down the vision that you have for your life. And so when you get bored or when things start to pop up or when your friends start to fall off or people who don't want to do what you want to do, right? You need to go back and look at your vision. You need to go back and look at that plan and ask the Lord how to go about achieving that. And I think that word can be said about a lot of young people, to all young people at this time, especially with the different plagues and viruses and things going on. Because how else, to overcome depression and overcome your right now, what do you think your life would look like? And if you don't write it down, you don't have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say not just for young people, but for people who have a lot of time on their hands as well. Even those who don't have a lot of time on their hands. It's interesting because just today I was on Mixcloud. Me and my buddy of mine, we used to DJ, and over the years we've composed a different online mixtapes with different songs from different artists. And today I came across one. I was like, man. And as I came across it, I went to our page that I had looked at in a while. I was like, man, that's a lot of mixtapes that we had put out. I was like, wow, a lot of that came from free time. and a lot of that came from just me honing in on my DJing skills. And I'm also an audio engineer. I started like, I'll say like 2012, 2011. I started buying audio gear and watching thousands of hours of YouTube videos about different guys and how to edit and different engineers and how to master and mix music and do this and do that. And a lot of that came because I didn't have the money to go to school, because I was looking at a few different schools in DC, but there was just too much money. I didn't have the money to actually go to school at that time. So I never forget it. And this is an example about how someone's words to you can change your life. I never forget it to this day. There was an engineer, it was an audio engineer. I went to one of the schools to interview to get more information about the school and how to get in. And it was an engineer, an audio engineer. It's called the House Studio in DC. The engineer name was Jake. I never forget to this day. I actually wrote down his name in my book and what he said to me. But he was like, look, man. He was like, to be honest, you don't really need to go to school to be an audio engineer. He was like, if you were talking about making music, then yeah, he said, but to be an audio engineer, he was like, just do what I did. Because he was telling me, he was like, I actually went to school for business. He said, I didn't go to school for audio engineering. You know what I'm saying? He said, I went to school for business. He said, but because I had been around music my whole life, I basically kind of taught myself at AUCND. And for all you guys that don't know, the House Studio in DC, I don't even know if it still exists, but they used to record big time artists like Chris Brown, Rick Ross. I mean, big artists in the game. So they weren't no small little mom and pop spot. They were a big well known studio who actually was a school as well. So he told me, he said, man, start by going out, buying gear piece by piece, and learning about different audio plugins and what they do, learning about different compressors and reverbs and equalizers and what they do to audio, and put them on music and see how they manipulate the sound. He said, start from there, and you'll become an engineer over time. So I did that, over the course from 2011, 2012 to now. I've been doing that, and now we have a full-fledged home studio, and it's like, but that's how you begin. It starts with taking your free time that you have and using it wisely, not wasting your time. A lot of people, they spend time binge watching shows on YouTube, or binge watching shows on Netflix or Hulu Plus or whatever platforms they have. Stop binge watching shows or wasting time, and put forth that free time and creating your own business or writing music or whatever it is you want to get into, And I always tell people, if there's one thing I can encourage you to never, ever, ever do in life, it's this: never give up on dreaming. Dream big, because dreams do come true. Trust me. Dreams come true. I used to have a dream of becoming an engineer in a studio, and I did in my own studio. Me and my wife, we have our own business where I edit audio for people all the time. I do music and we do podcasts, sermons from churches. We do a lot of stuff, but it's like dreams do come true. Keep that dream, and whatever you have to do, whatever goals you have to accomplish, and whatever things you have to eliminate in your life to accomplish that goal, do it. Dreams do come true.
Yeah. The thing that I was thinking about was when you were saying, stop watching like binge watching hours of Hulu and binge watching hours of YouTube and things like that. The one thing that you cannot get back is time. And so during that time, you are watching other people live their life. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll turn on YouTube and watch, a vlog here, somebody renovate a home there, or somebody create something. And, I look up and it's like, oh, it's the whole day. But then I got to a point where I started to feel like I'm not creating anything, because like, I like creating things. I like being crafty. I like doing things with my hands. And I'm like, what am I making? The Lord approached me and was like, well, what are you doing? What are you making? And so, it really challenged me, because it's like, yeah, I ain't doing nothing. I'm just watching other people. And my heart wasn't content with that. And so,
yeah,
the one thing that I cannot get back is time. And what I don't want to happen is for people to look up, or even myself to look up, and it's like a year, 2, 3 years from now, and I have more responsibility as far as more kids, more bills, and we got this and that going on and juggling this and that. And in the free time that I had, I didn't go out and do. I did not plan. I did not seek the Lord on what I should do. I mean, I was, going back to what I was saying in the beginning, I was telling this person that, I used to just sit when I was in beauty school. I had all this time. And what I choose to do, I chose the club. I chose the party. How did that benefit me? It didn't benefit me. I didn't meet the love of my life in the club. And don't get me wrong, some people do, but I didn't. So, I didn't meet the love of my life in the club.
You know a song about Beyonce and Lil Wayne, Love in the Club, and Usher.
I told you last podcast, I'm too Christian. I don't know that song. I'm holy, sanctified, and saved. Yeah, I know that song there. But yeah, I mean, I just, I didn't find love in the club. I most times ended up more broke. I don't even think I'm friends with the people I went to the club with. I don't even talk to nobody that I met at the club, even in passing, And so it's almost like that period of time in my life, not to say that it was a waste, because I definitely learned a lot of things about people. And it was just like, wow, I didn't know people actually live their life that way. But, it wasn't producing any fruit. And, the one thing that the Lord wants us to do is go out and be fruitful. And so a lot of times we don't sit back and ask ourselves, is this activity fruitful? Am I building with these people? What is the outcome? We don't ever think about that, whether it be relationships, whether it be friendships, whether it be with our own family, our own family. It's like the Bamas can sit outside on the front porch and do the same thing every day, watch traffic pass by. And not to say that there's not a time for that, but there's a time for that. There's a season and time for everything. Yeah. But if every season and all the time is looking like you doing the same thing and there's no fruit being produced from your time, you know what I'm saying? Then you need to check in with the Lord on, you know what? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I around the people that I'm supposed to be around? Yeah, and if not, can you please direct me to that?
Yeah, it's interesting because as I've gotten older, I don't really know, because I've always had multiple jobs since I was a kid, before, even before I came to Job Corps, which ended up landing me a job with the railroad. I had 3 jobs. I had 2 jobs. I worked 2 jobs. I had when I got off from this job, I went to the next job, and then my third job, I scheduled it so that I was off the same days on my first 2 jobs. I could work my third job. So I was just like, it's funny because me and my coworkers, we were talking about younger people. I'm not old. I'm 30. I'm not old, but we were talking about how they don't know how people can sit all day and beg for money, or in Baltimore and DC they call them squeegee boys. Boys sit at the red light, and they squeegee your windows for you while the lights are red, and you give them whatever money you want to give them. And he was like, so you mean tell me you'll stand outside all day to squeeze somebody's windows where you can just go to McDonald's or go to Walmart and work 8 hours and probably get paid more? I was like, not only that, you can go to Amazon, because in the Baltimore area, they have Amazon warehouses are popping up everywhere. And Amazon in Baltimore, they start off $17 an hour, and they don't do no drug test, they don't do no background check. It's like if you are somebody that's just young and looking for something to do or want to make some money, Amazon actually where is that? I mean, shoot, bump McDonald's and Walmart, they ain't paying what Amazon paying.
Well, hold on, Dale. Let me just stop you right there. I get what you're saying about the squeegee boys, but I don't fault them because at least they're trying to do something.
No. I'm not. No, we're not. No, I'm not saying I fault them because I'm not saying I fault them at all. Because oftentimes we talk about how we be just give the money, just give it to them. Like, hey, I don't want my window squeegee, but just give the money, take it. But it's like, no, I don't. But what he is saying is that yes, while it is, I feel like it is a mindset of beginning to be an entrepreneur. The other, on the flip side of it, is what we all talked about. What was that like? Well, on the flip side, he said they don't want to be accountable to nobody. They don't want to go to a job where you could actually make more money, because those guys be out there all day. Like, they be out there all day long. Like, all
I mean, they
day.
probably feel like they're hustling.
I mean,
and then there's some people
I
that are
understand
underage. I've seen really young boys out there.
Yeah.
And so they're underage. Like, I think legally in the state of Maryland, you can't be on papers until you are 15. Oh, yeah, 15 and a half. Well, I think it's 15. But maybe 15 and a half.
6 months to be exact, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, I hadn't checked the laws like as of recently, but I just remember it was around 15. Like, you legally couldn't be on papers, and some people got to eat. But now, if you're still doing that at like 20 and 30, you know what I'm saying? And you have a family, it's almost like, okay, could you be doing something different that's more sufficient to support your lifestyle?
Yeah.
So, so I think it goes back to writing out your vision, because even with you being a squeegee boy, like, I would pray that those boys out there, those young men out there, they would have a plan for that money. Because come on now, doing hair, like, to, my hairdresser friends that are listening, doing hair, you get fast money. It's fast money in, money out. And it's fast money because, you shampoo a couple heads and they in and out. You can make a couple hundred within a day. But then because it's in cash, you don't have no plan for that money. You don't have no goals. It's kind of like, I'm just going to spend it and I'm going to work until you get older. Like my situation where we got married, I got physically sick where I physically could not do anymore. And it was just like, where all that money go? Like, one thing you said to me, you used to say to me, and it burned me up. But it was true. You were like, well, you working all the time. Where that money at? Like, where's the money? You work for X amount of years. Where's the money? And honestly, one, you wanted me to be accountable to that money, to the time that I spent working. And then two, I spent years working and I had nothing to show for it in a matter of seconds.
I mean, but that's a lot of us though. Like, I think about when I first got a job with the railroad, I was 19, 20 years old, making good money. Like, I would go on vacation and blow thousands of dollars. But it's like, it's funny because one of my coworkers the other night, we were laughing, joking. I say it's funny because now that Corona has hit, after this episode is over, whenever it is, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in it from now, I said, trust me, if there's one thing the coronavirus has taught people, is this right here. The next time come around and you're making some money, you don't think twice about blowing it, because coronavirus have put a lot of people in positions who probably could have been all right if they would have saved the money. Like, I'm talking about people that I know who I know what they do for a living, and I know how much money they was blowing. It's like, man, they were blowing money, and they've said out their own mouth, like, man, you know, this joint doesn't really. I was stupid, man. I was stupid.
Yeah, they were waiting on the stimulus check.
When you making when you're making really good money, well, if I blow it today, I can get it back on Friday. So you do. I'm not saying that I did, because I wasn't one of the ones who did that, but it's like a lot of people have kind of had that mentality, and the coronavirus has showed them, yeah, that was a grave mistake that you made. So, and I kind of went on a tangent, but I say all that to say that oftentimes with your free time, just be productive. In past episodes and past podcasts, I've shared about how I sat down and had a conversation with the millionaire, and he actually, told me, because I would ask questions like, well, how'd you build your company from scratch, and A, B, C, and D, and oftentimes, like, one of the things that I feel like reality TV shows do for us is it kind of paints for us a false facade. And what I mean by that is, like, oftentimes, like, when you see a Beyonce or Jay-Z or Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole, oftentimes what you don't see is the amount of work and hours that they've had to put in to their craft, the amount of years they may have went unsigned, broke, barely making it by. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I feel like oftentimes people, we just waste so much time, and we think that I'm gonna just do a couple of tracks, whether it's singing, rapping, or whatever, put them out, and then I'm about to blow. No, that stuff takes time, and maybe in today's world, because everything is social media and it can be shared 5 million times. Yeah, so you might run across somebody who might sign you, but my whole point in saying that is just take your free time and use it productively. Don't be wasting your time. Build your brand, build your business, build your become better in your craft and your skill. Whatever it is you do.
And not only that, like, if you don't have a craft or a skill, or you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, spend time with the Lord. Ultimately, spend time with the Lord. You shouldn't have idle time, because then that's when you start to get into things. There's a post going around on social media that's like, right now, as we're recording this podcast, that's like, what would you tell your younger self? And I was thinking, I laughed to myself because I was like, what would I tell my younger self? If I ran into her, I would probably tell her, take a nap. It's okay. Take a nap, because you are not going to get that sleep back once you have kids. I mean, it doesn't, make up for the time that you're tired, but take a nap, be creative. Don't chase after your friends, and when I say chase after your friends, if they going out to the party, it's okay to miss a party. If they going out to, Miami, girls night, whatever, blah, 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 it's okay to miss out on that. I mean, if you building something with them, if you're intentional with them on some things, yeah, that's cool. But it's also okay to miss out on that. It's okay to check in with the Lord. It's okay to be at home and to write some things out and figure some things out.
Yeah.
Because if you never take the time to figure things out, like I said, you'll look up and you'll have 2-3 kids, be married, and it's like, wait a minute. I never got a chance to explore my dreams. I never got a chance to, fulfill this or fulfill that. And not that the Lord won't bring it back around, because if it's for you, he will bring it back around. But at the same time, it's almost like the one thing you do not get back is time.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was in Job Corps, one of the things that, I don't know if people, if you went to Job Corps, but if you haven't with the Job Corps, then you wouldn't know. But one of the things that Job Corps does is, I think while you're in Job Corps, they will actually pay for you to go to college, or, well, I'll say a community college, which is what a lot of the kids did when I was in Job Corps. Because I went there to get a trade. I actually didn't go there to get a GED or a high school diploma. I already had that when I went to Job Corps. I'm just going for a trade. But one of the things that I watched and observed when I was in Job Corps is that a lot of the people who took advantage of Job Corps' programs and stuff were foreigners, and that always blew me away. Because even when I was in Job Corps, I would make comments like, "Man, it's crazy how with Job Corps, I think you could take 2 trades," and a lot of that was dependent on you. Like, a lot of Job Corps' curriculum is more so about how fast you can comprehend it and how fast you can get through. Because like some people, it may take them a year, whereas another person, it may take them, I'll say 4 to 6 months. So it just depends on you as a person and how fast you comprehend things and how fast you can grasp it and take the test and pass to move on to the next module. So I said that to say, like, when I was in Job Corps, I took 2 crafts, and one of the things that I saw when I was in Job Corps is that the people who were foreigners, like Africans, Asians who from other countries, they would come in and they would take like 2 or 3 trades and go to college all at the same time. I'm like, man. And meanwhile, people who were probably native to America, they taking 1 trade and they going home. And I'm not saying nothing bad about that, but it's like, it's interesting how people who are from countries, who maybe from countries where they were poor, and I'm saying that because a lot of those guys, I befriended them, and I would talk to them, and they would tell me, man, just different stories. Like, I was poor, or my country was deprived by war. But when I talk to those guys and really get their background and their history, it's like I would see why they would come to America. They would grind. Like they wouldn't play no games. They wouldn't, like, while other Job Corps kids who may have been from Miami or New York or DC or Baltimore were partying on weekends, they was hitting the books. They was coming back home from college, studying, writing essays. I'm like, man, they were just grinding. And one of the things that taught me was that, like, if you want success in life, you have to chase it. If you want to accomplish your dreams in life, you have to chase it. Nothing is going to just fall in your lap by coincidence or just happen to, no. That's not how success works. That may happen to somebody, out the rare occasions throughout time and history, yeah. But for the average Joe Blow, if you want real success, you're going to have to hit the books hard, study. Even my job with the railroad, when I came into the railroad, there's always opportunities for you to get certain certs and elevate your pay. But even that, you have to study certain curriculums and things that's not hard. Like, at certain tests, I failed 2 or 3 times before I passed it. That stuff is not easy. It's hard. It's very difficult. Everything that you do in life, you're going to have to put forth the effort and really study and not blow and squander your time, or you look back and you'll be 35 years old, working at McDonald's, working at Walmart, wondering, how did I get here? You got there because you partied most of your 20s away. And now you're in your 30s, about to be 40 years old, with no true career or nothing to really show for the time that you spent, but just memories.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. And that's what I was sharing with my family member. I was like, you're in a prime position. Take advantage of where you are. You don't have to pay bills. You're not doing anything but just going to school, and you have all this free time. And in that free time, yes, feel free to rest. Maybe, you might not want to achieve something right now, this summer, this time. At least think about it, because if you don't think about it, like you said, you will squander that time. You look up, you 30 and you done squandered your 20s. And I was like, I felt as though, not that people don't start over, but it's harder when you have children. It's harder. Yeah, it's harder when you're older, because, there's somebody in your family, Dale, who always says like, yeah, I'm in my 40s, and people, and who's looking to date, and this person is like, yeah, they're looking for me to have, a house, a car, and be established in my career. Yeah, but they oftentimes fault him because this person was incarcerated, throughout their 20s. And so, I mean, and even for me, almost being 30, being 30 next year, it's like, man, how I entered my 20s really could have set the 20s on fire. Just as far as, maybe not having debt entering marriage, or maybe being able to get my car fixed when my car needed to be fixed, or maybe being able to buy some stuff that I needed, just things like that. And so I was just like, man, I worked. So I worked. I did what I needed to do, at the time, and it got me through. But I could have been so much more on top of things and so much more on my game, being able to accomplish things, being able to be creative, and not like working from a place of struggle, but working from a place of passion. Because that story that you told about the guys and girls that you've met in Job Corps who came from other countries, it's almost like they probably came over to this country thinking nothing is going to stop me until I get a home, or until I can send for my family.
It's free. Man, what? Man, I'm gone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But what do I tell you? So there's another family member of yours who, like Dale's family, he just has a rich family structure. And so the one thing I think of is this one family member. And I'm just like, if I was in this person's position, I would come to my family humbly, who's willing to help me. And I would be like, could you, I wouldn't take advantage, but I would be like, could you, take care of this while I go, kind of clean houses here, while I go do this there, or babysit a few people over there. Like, what can I do to get myself out of this situation? So sometimes there's things that, the Lord puts us in. Like, I think about when Joseph was imprisoned, and he was elevated. He was then elevated. Like, he was imprisoned to later be elevated to where the position that the Lord wanted to place him. That's one thing, when the Lord places you in those type of difficult positions. But then, we try to take those stories and we go get into some mess, and then we got to live out our mess. And we're like, oh, well, the Lord got us there, because if he wanted us to have better, then we would have had better. And that's, it's almost like, no, you had time and time and time again, opportunity after opportunity, but you squandered it, and you would not humble yourself. You were so prideful that you would not humble yourself enough to say, you know what, I need help. But you busy, we good. If you're good, then you're good. I'm glad to hear that you're good.
It's funny because I remember having conversations with some of my coworkers. They were talking about debt. Like, man, I'm in like $10,000 worth of debt. I'm like, dude, you can pay it off in like 5 months. Like, I'm like, dude, with the money we make for overtime, you can pay it off in like 5 months. Well, now I got to do. Yes, you can. Like, if you stop going partying, if you stop going here, stop going there, you can pay it off in 4 or 5 months. And it's funny because, like, now with the coronavirus in my job, they've actually cut all the overtime. So we haven't been working any overtime since March, since February. And guys are really hurting. Guys are hurting. Guys are hurting right now. They are hurting financially. They're hurting bad. I say things, and I don't say it to be a smuck. Like, man, I was telling you guys, man. I was telling you guys. I was telling you, man. All that extra money that you make from overtime, you should have been paying off debt and saving it, man. Saving it. Yeah. But people don't listen. The condition of the world now, it actually reminded me of the scripture in Genesis about Noah. And it says, in the time of Noah, people were getting married and giving unto marriage and just enjoying life. And it said when the flood came, it took him by surprise. It's like, but only those who align themselves with the Lord to really realize that, hey, I really need to be about my business. I need to save and pay off my debt. You know what I'm saying? But it says, when the flood came, it took him by surprise. The coronavirus, if you want to say, it was a symbolic flood. And when it came, it took a lot of people by surprise. Now guaranteed, nobody really anticipated for the effect of it to be as big as it was. I think a lot of it comes from people just not having the mentality of preparation. They blow all the time, blow all their money. They blow all, they blow everything. Everything blowed. My car blowed up, you know what I'm saying? My money blowed, my time blowed. And so when things happen in life, that could have, I won't say could have been prevented, because some things in life can never be prevented. But when things come up in life that could have been handled a little bit more delicately, if you had invested the time and money in the right places, you could be all right. But that's not the case. So I just feel like, don't let us be like the people in Noah's day when the flood came. It took us by surprise. Let us be people who are people of faith, who are dedicated and walk with the Lord, and people who take time to have a plan, and we live our life and set our life by that plan. And so we're always prepared when things come up, or should I say, we're as prepared as we can be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed this conversation with you today, Dale.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you guys for tuning in to About This Love podcast. Again, definitely encouraged by people listening to our podcast in South Africa, Alaska, Canada. I'm just, hey, look, I'm just a guy from North Carolina, a small town in North Carolina, and now I live in Baltimore. To me to go online and see that people listen to my podcast in other countries, to me, it's amazing. It's encouraging to me for us to keep doing what we're doing. It's kind of like God kind of showing us, you're in the right direction. Thank you guys who listen. We definitely appreciate your support. Continue to support us. Subscribe to our podcast on the different podcast platforms. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And until next time,
About This Love.
Yeah, About This Love. Until next time, peace.